Pain is relative, but suffering is a choice. We all to some degree feel as if we've experienced a degree of pain, right? And to be honest with you, and to be quite frank with you, you're correct. We all have, in our own interpretation, experienced a degree of pain. However, when we encounter individuals in life and they tell us their story, we come to realization that, wow, maybe what I went through wasn't as bad as what they have. When their situation sounds even worse than yours, right? So then you come to the realization that pain is relative to the individual experience. What you may find to be painful, other people may not find to be painful. And like, when I say pain, I'm not talking about just the physical aspects of pain. I'm talking about on an emotional and psychological level. So we all experience hardship, and we've all sort of accepted these hardships, right? And have sat through these hardships and understood that we've gone through, like, we've taken a few L's, right? But pain is a necessary part of life, right? How could you feel pleasure if you can't feel pain? But suffering is a choice. What do I mean by that? You know, suffering is the mental and emotional state of experiencing hardship. And oftentimes, when we feel as if we have suffered, it's only been our own interpretation of how we see certain situations. A lot of what we consider to be suffering comes from the absence of things. All of suffering actually comes from our desire for things and their absence in our lives, which therefore then causes an emotional reliance to it. So, suffering really is a choice. And here's the thing, right? We all feel as if we suffer in our human experience because of our desires and the things that we want. Because what causes most of our suffering is our desires and our inability to see what's present right now and constantly be in search for what's absent and what we desire to have, which is basically part of the concept of why capitalism exists, right? Because they want you to be consumerism and consumption to stimulate the world economies if you do so. But what you must understand is you choose to suffer. A lot of people think they suffer when they've been in between jobs for like maybe 3 or 4 months. Like, bro, like if you have your necessary basic needs, food, water, shelter, everything else is complementary to your human experience. You think you've suffered because things are absent. You think you suffered because you expressed interest in somebody and somebody maybe no longer feels the same way. You think you've suffered because of the absence of certain things. Maybe resources, maybe you've had to cut down on your expenses for a few months and you call that suffering. But it's not. It's not. Real pain and suffering only happens when you experience a loss of somebody you love in your life because once somebody dies, they no longer can come back. That is the only suffering that you can actually experience. But any other interpretation of suffering comes from your perception and how you see it. If you get hurt, you experience pain. Yes, that makes sense, right? If you lose something that you really wanted, you experience pain. Why? The expectation of you having it for a long time, and now you no longer have it, it allows you to experience a degree of pain. I understand that. But to feel as if you're suffering because certain things are absent in your life is a perception issue. It is a paradigm in which you perceive your reality that needs to change. You see, energy isn't created nor destroyed. It is only transmuted, meaning that everything you desire is present. All the perspectives that you fail to see are all present. It's just about you shifting the paradigms, which is the mental framework in which you perceive an experience. By only shifting your paradigms, can you actually see the different circumstances and the different ways of perceiving the same experience. What God takes away from you, He doesn't take away from you without replacing it with something else, something even better and more stable. Yet, you fail to notice that because you're too hindsighted in what it is that you want. Yeah, you've got this tunnel vision. But if your energy isn't created or destroyed, all that you want is already present right now. It's your inability to perceive it, right? There's this guy that I watch on YouTube, right? His name is Neuronknowledge. Big shout out to Neuronknowledge. And he goes, when you're trying to manifest something, you need to look through God's sight and not your eyesight. You need to look through mind sight and not your eyesight. Because you must see it in your mind before you can see it in reality so you can come into reality. And I said, that takes a degree of radical trust. Radical trust is another word to describe faith, right? You must have faith in your ability to attain the things that you desire. One more time for the people in the back. You must have a degree of faith to attain things that you truly desire. But the pain that you experience that you associate with being absent of certain things or having to go through certain things that don't align with where you think you should be, it's relative to the individual experience, but you choose to suffer, right? You know, there are people who eat healthy, who live a good life, yet they still suffer through the process of having to work out, eat healthy, and go to work. A lot of people suffer with the concept of going to work. They hate their jobs, yet they fail to realize that their jobs provide them sustenance, money to survive, money to pay rent, money to take care of your family. And a lot of us suffer through this experience because we are ungrateful. If we began to really count on our fingers how many blessings God has gave us, tears will run down our eyes to realizing how ungrateful we are. You know, there are people who have physical deformity, yet when they pray to God and they put their hands up, they thank Him for the deformalities that He has given them, because He's given them the greatest gift ever, the gift of life. But we fail to realize that we're too dependent and consumed by all that is absent in our lives. And that is the problem. Suffering is a choice. You choose to suffer through the things that you know you need to do in order to get what you want. In fact, all of life is a blessing. But let me tell you what creates your suffering. Suffering is a prolonged misery. And misery comes from a disalignment with where you are in life to where it is that you think you should be or where it is that you desire to be. And the disalignment and the absence causes a displeasure within you. So then you just tend to go around life projecting this energy. It's all in your mind. There's an ayat in the Quran that says, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكَ مَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of God's many wonders will you deny Him? How many blessings has God offered you that you are yet to count on your fingers? Infinite, but you fail to see that, because all it is that you are paying attention to, perceiving, is all that is absent. Remember what I said, pain is relative and suffering is a choice. You are choosing to suffer. The only real suffering is a loss of a family member or somebody that you dearly love. Because once they die, they're not coming back. So remember that. And if you're a man, if you're a young man, if you can pride yourself on anything, it's the ability to do difficult things, right? It's the ability to endure pain. When I say pain, I don't mean like, put yourself through pain that is not serving you, or the ability to do things that you don't want to do. If you can sort of harness that skill, become unstoppable in all aspects of life. Because most of the reason why you don't do most things is because you're avoiding it. What are you avoiding of? The feeling that you feel inside. But you must accept, in order for me to level up my character, right, in this game of reality, I must do difficult things. Because if you were to build the best human being ever, you'd put them through a lot of suffering. So when they came out, yeah, they were unpenetrable, right? They were tough as fuck, right? So the ability to endure pain is also a trait that makes you more of a man. So in saying that, please remember that pain is relative to the individual experience. We all think we experience pain until we encounter somebody who's experienced more. Yet suffering is a choice. We choose to suffer through our experiences due to our inability to see its benefits in the moment, right? Sure, maybe we're reluctant to this idea, but it's our reluctantness and our desire to be somewhere else or do something else that causes our misery. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Peace. Like, subscribe, share with a friend. Catch you in the next video.